All right. So I want to say thank you guys for joining today. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about basically, if you guys know and are aware of the value proposition of Valor is to talk about strengthening collaboration and partnership. And what was really funny is, I saw Matt on the Facebook forums and just talking about collaboration. I was like, hmm. So, we got to know each other better, and this is the true value of partnership. Now, Matt does not have life contracts with Valor or is part of Valor. However, strategic positioning and offering opportunities, which is what we're going to talk about, how to partner with people, like-minded individuals who can help take your business to the next level. Qualified plans is a huge one that not a lot of people are too aware of and how to position. Thankfully, instead of me and agents futzing through and making mistakes, we have an experienced partner now with Matt to talk about how to utilize some insurance carriers to the aspect and opportunity of providing a value on 401ks, 412(b)(3)s, and this is going to be a whole month worth of opportunity. So you're going to see some stuff here over the next month that'll make you go, "Wow, ooh, that's the best I got." But I'll I'll let Matt introduce himself, experience and everything, and then we'll just kind of dive in. If anybody has questions throughout the process, feel free to use the chat box. And then also, you know, what I would say is that if you want to raise that little hand thing, if we see it appropriate, we can pop out the question throughout the presentation. But um, last thing I'll say is, and I forgot to mention this in the newsletter, I'm going to take vacation next week. So I apologize in advance. Sunday to Saturday, I will be in what we call the Redneck Riviera here in the South, basically the panhandle of Florida. We'll be down there. So if you guys need to text, call, those are fine, but the internet is spotty down there and at the beach. So next week, probably won't be able to do Zooms, but phone calls, text, whatever is totally fine. That being said, all the housekeeping items are square. I will let Matt take over. Matt, thank you so much for giving us a month of training for this next, 4 weeks. So take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me part of the team for this month. And to kind of move on to the questions, I like to be interrupted. Feel free to interrupt me at any time. Um, Phil, I kind of messed up my screen, so when I'm not going to be able to see anybody's faces or the hands up. So literally just shout
I got
out,
your
interrupt
back.
me. All
Yeah, I
right,
got your
appreciate
back.
it. So. Okay. So, yeah, my name is Matt Ruttenberg. I am a co-owner of Life Inc. Retirement Services. We're a team of eight. We're not a huge company, but we are a national company. And we're a 401(k) administration company. We have an RIA, and we are in the insurance agency business as well. So, we have created this, I guess, machine that goes after all things business owners and retirement planning and retirement plans. So we are not financial planners. We are first and foremost a administration company where we actually design the 401(k) plan and then other executive benefits and things like that. I'm going to touch on all of that today. And basically, first thing I want to go over is kind of like the agenda for the month. And pardon me, I am kind of losing my voice already. I have one enrollment meeting under my belt for the day, and I have another one after this too. So I've been talking a lot today. So this week is going to be more of an introduction to the retirement plan space. It's a vast, vast world. So I'm not going to dig in too far. Otherwise, everyone's heads are going to be spinning today. But then Next week is going to go into the options that we use for high income businesses, specifically, that profit, maybe 250, 500,000 of pre-tax profit and above. You'll notice I reference that a lot. What is the profit of the company? And how do we get to know the profit of the company? Because a lot of that turns into deeper conversations. And then we're going to get into the case studies in week 3, which is going to be a lot of fun. A lot of the stuff we talk about this week and next week, we're going to actually go through 3 different case studies: small, medium, large size companies. Let me rephrase that: like a startup company, someone that's been established, but then another one that has a lot of high profit. A lot in the medical field maybe is a good example there. And then in week 4, we're going to have another guest alongside me that's going to talk about how we're going to prospect for 401k plans. I have a ton of tools and resources that I'm going to share with you. So the goal kind of after all 4 weeks is going to be you'll be ready to roll in prospecting for these retirement plans. And I'm going to kind of show you how this all fits, because I know we're in the insurance industry, but where does the 401k? Because a lot of us are actually going against the 401k, right? We're talking against the 401k. We want to say, hey, these 401ks aren't going to be worth your while, but in reality, it is. It's a tool. It's just one IRS code out of many that business owners usually require to have in their palette of different kind of things that they use towards their plan. So the overall goal of these 4 weeks is, one, how to learn how to integrate, how to become integrated into the retirement plan space. Again, it is a vast, vast world. It is something that I train CPAs. We have 65 CPAs that send us business, and most of them don't know what is available and how to do this. So it's not a very common part of the industry. It's just a small corner of the industry. It's a specialty. So instead of being like a general practitioner, you're a specialist once you get into the 401k space. And it allows you to sit on the same side of the table as the CPA, as financial advisors, as insurance agents, and the business owner, because we are all in the same team here. We are just one cog in that overall machine, if you will. So, and the second thing we're going to do is we want to be seen as a valuable resource to the high income business owners. We don't want to go in as a salesperson to just say, hey, let's talk about 401ks. Let's talk about this insurance. The wealthiest people in the world, I think we all understand this, are entrepreneurs, right? They have the most money. And if you can become that connection, whether you're able to help them or not in meeting number 1, but becoming a resource to talk to them. I'm going to go into this a little bit deeper, but being that resource, instead of them just doing research on YouTube and blogs and things like that, the things we're going to talk about and the strategies are going to be unspoken strategies that you don't see on the internet a lot of times, because these are the strategies that you can use for, like, let's just call it the rich get richer kind of situations. But the baseline of every strategy is having a 401k plan, because it is needed and sometimes mandated, which is what we're going to talk about today a little bit too. So you want to be that person, that resource. And what we're going to talk about today is, one, who can sell a 401k plan. This is very, very unknown of who actually can do that. We're going to talk about that a little bit further. We're kind of, again, dive deep just a little bit into the 401k, into the retirement plan space. I don't want to just say 401k because that's just one part of it. State mandates, if you're not aware of this already, there's a lot of states out there that are requiring businesses to start offering some sort of retirement plan option. And then setting the stage. This is going to be more of like a sneak peek into what we're going to talk about in the future weeks. And then we'll have open Q&A, but honestly, open Q&A the entire time. Please interrupt me. Now, one thing I definitely want you to do is, as we're going through this, write down businesses that come in to mind. Okay. So write down a prospect, write down a family friend. I don't care. Just write them down as these come through. And then I'd be happy to help you do case study work if you'd like to in the future, or ask about that specific industry and things like that, because every little industry is a little bit different than the other. And writing them down will help them or keep them from falling through the cracks. It's a great practice to do when you're learning to where you can start actually implementing some of these strategies. Okay. All right. So first and foremost, who can sell a 401k plan? Um, a lot of people don't realize this, but insurance agents without a securities license in most states can sell a 401k plan. I am compiling a list. This is actually a little bit harder than I thought because a lot of these lists are for interoffice only or not for consumer, or what do you want to call it, client usage. So I'm creating a list of these states. And again, these are like, ever changing, always changing. But I will have a list for you by the end of this session of these 4 weeks of the states that you can and cannot do business in. And just remember, we are all can be virtual. So we are a 50 state company, so we're able to sell plans all over the country. It does not. It's the state that you are that your non-resident license in is totally fine to do that in. So that's okay if you're in a state. The ones that you definitely cannot. Let's start here. We'll narrow it down a little bit. North Carolina, Massachusetts, and New York. Those are three that I know you cannot. New York is always New York. It's always very difficult to do business in New York anyway. But California, you can is one that you could definitely do. We'll dive into a few more later too, but those are ones that you only need your life insurance license. And the reason why you can do it is because there are rules out there that you are allowed to only inside of a qualified plan. Okay, only inside of qualified plan. So you're able to manage these investments inside of the plan. Companies that we can use that are probably the best out there, John Hancock is one. Uh, Principal Financial is another. Uh, One America is another, which is now Voya. So if you're noticing a trend here, they're all insurance-based companies, right? Insurance-based companies, you can't go and create a Fidelity or a Vanguard one. They have to be within a insurance chassis, and then we create a percentage. On average, you can make usually around 0.6% is a competitive startup rate. And it goes up from there of assets, recurring assets under management is how you can get paid on those. Um, and the
Yeah,
reason
real
is
quick.
because business owners are. Oh, do you have a question? Did I hear a question?
Yeah, one real quick thing. So,
Yeah.
going back to the states, Mass, North Carolina, and New York. Is there a situation where if the main business is in Massachusetts, but they have sub offices in other locations, other states, is that possible to get around that? Or is it like because the main place is Mass, no go?
So it's going to be so yeah, like franchise owners, things like that. It's going to be on a so if the business this is getting into some compliance stuff that is probably going to be a future conversation, to be honest with you. So
Mhm.
at the simplest form, you could do that. That'd be okay.
Okay.
So let's say, yeah, like if it's you have an office in California or a franchise in California, but also in New York, you could handle the California office, but you can't handle the New York office. However, there's a lot more compliance rules around that. They're called control group rules. So let's just call that's a case by case basis. Sometimes businesses, if they have multiple entities, this is a great one for doctors' offices, for example, right? We see doctors' offices that might have multiple partners, but they want to pay their LLC. You cannot cut out your employees. That's just a bit. Let's just keep it simple. You can't intentionally cut out employees in the retirement plan space. And this goes into the qualified plan and non-qualified, we're just going to touch on here too, and why sometimes these non-qualified plans are a little bit more fun to work with than the qualified plan. So we'll touch on all that. Good question, Phil. Also, I think I want to ask that question to Nick from John Hancock, and who's going to be on our fourth call at the end of the month. I think that's a good person to ask on that.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the key word, sophisticated investors. This is why they get a little special treatment, why we all get to have this special treatment. Business owners are considered sophisticated investors. So inside of a qualified plan only, we are able to open these 401k plans. Any questions on that outside of what you just asked, Phil? We'll get into
Guys,
this a little bit more.
Feel free to use the chat, or if you want to blurt it out, feel free to act now or forever hold your peace. All right, let's roll.
All right. Okay, so let's kind of dive into this retirement plans 101 part of it. So there are the retirement plan world is huge. It's vast. So imagine a business owner who has no financial background. Maybe they're optometrists, maybe they're in the medical field, and they're trying to do research on every single retirement plan. It's SEP IRA, simple IRA, profit sharing, 401k, safe harbor 401k, defined, but it's impossible for them to really have a good understanding of what is going to be let's just put it this way. I'm going to do a lot of samples here and examples of conversation I've had just this week alone. I had a very high level dog, I guess, boarding company is the best way to explain this, reach out to me, and she scheduled a meeting with me, and she wanted to open up simple SEP IRAs for her staff. And ultimately that wasn't the best option. I'll explain that to you in the future here soon. But at the end of the day, I found out that she had a $500,000 profit. She wanted to come as a very transactional conversation. I want to open this. This is what it is. What are your fees? Blah, blah, blah. And ultimately, we ended up, we're going to be implementing a non-qualified plan with several $100,000 a year of contributions. So these are just basic starting points that we want to talk about. Phil, I do see some questions in the chat, I think. Yes, I'll go ahead, and if I see them, do you want me to go ahead and hit them up?
Yeah, well,
questions?
I answered the first one for you. It was about can we do a Roth 401k? And I said yes. The next question was the state restrictions for investments greater than 250k only, or any 401k amount.
No, that is irrelevant. The limits on that are irrelevant. Good question. Yeah, so the limits are not relevant to that. I think you might be thinking of like the qualified investors and things like that. Maybe is that the question? Yeah, accredited investors and qualified investors. Yeah, that's not yes, thank you. Yeah, Vicky. Yeah, that's not that is irrelevant in the qualified space. But good question. So let's kind of start here. This is a good starting point. So let's look at the 401k space in general. And these are great one-liners. So write these down as I say these one-liners, because most financial advisors and CPAs don't know this kind of stuff. So write these down. It's a good thing to be able to mention to these business owners that we talk about. So there are 3 roles to every single 401k plan on the planet. Okay. Whether you're with Paychex or ADP, or you're using a company like us, there's 3 roles to every plan. First is the plan administrator, also known as a third-party administrator. We are the ones who build that plan document. We're the ones who create the rules and the eligibility and the vesting schedules. And we do the annual testing and file the 5500. Every single plan has to have this. Has to have this. Then there's the investment fiduciary. Who's choosing the investment lineup? Who's managing the investments? And who's taking the liability and shouldering that instead of the business owner acting as the financial advisor to every single one of their employees. Okay. And then there's the record keeper or the custodian. This is the John Hancocks. the vanguards. We are always going to be neutral here because we want to be able to be the resource. We don't want we want to be that common denominator. So regardless of what company they need to go with or what they go with, we want to be that common denominator. The B2B business world, the retirement plan world, is extremely transactional if you let it be that way. You sometimes will get into a bidding war. If you're not able to explain your value proposition in the conversation, it can become a very transactional conversation and saying, why are your fees higher than this one? It's very, very important to get that value proposition across the table and into their ears so they know who you are and what we're offering here. Now, let's look at this from a little bit more of a realistic standpoint. So sometimes, let's say we're talking about a self-directed 401k. Sometimes you'll have a real estate investor who wants to open up, or excuse me, yeah, you'll have a real estate investor or a business owner who has no employees and they want to manage their own stocks and bonds, or even have the ability to buy real estate inside of their 401k plan. They are taking that role as the investment fiduciary. They're investing their own money. They're making their own decisions. No, they're not going to sue themselves if they do a poor investment. That's totally fine. They're acting as their own investment fiduciary. They can also act as their own plan administrator, but there's a lot of liabilities and things like that that they have to come across in the annual testing. As soon as employees come into play, that's when they want to hire out the administrator. But the record keeper is basically where's the money being held? Where's those statements coming from? They can't, that could be, if it's self-directed, it could be Vanguard, or it could be John Hancock if we're helping manage it. But at the same time, it could be simply a bank account. It could be a bank account where they're funding real estate transactions or acting as private lenders or things like that. We have built our platform to where we are able to handle every single high income business owner, and they can invest in cryptocurrency. They can be their own private lenders. They can do real estate. We can do that at any degree. So if you come across someone who wants to invest in that kind of thing, feel free to let me know because we do have the capabilities. And again, you are the resource, and then everything else falls in line.
So just pause real quick there, Matt.
Yep,
Not to, I'm not trying to steal from the Matt show here, but
please go
we
for it.
do, yeah. So with Valor, we do have a silo for alternative investments. From that standpoint, as we know, we talk about things like solo 401ks, and if you heard it, Matt mentioned that you can do real estate transactions, you can do crypto and other assets that you typically don't see in traditional 401k plans held by whoever. So I think that's really, from that standpoint, a creative opportunity that you can talk to business owners who have one or two people, be it the husband and the wife or something along those lines, or maybe more. I don't want to overstep what I know compared to what you know, but I just want to overemphasize that fact that we're taking this in a different manner or context that people are used to, people are used
Mhm.
to hearing. So I think that's huge.
I think that's a good segue, actually. So to a story of a client who again reached out and asked, they just wanted to open up a 401k plan. And I'm going to go into how these conversations will start, but a lot of business owners, a lot of them don't like traditional investing. A lot of them. Um, I always say half of them are real estate investors, or half of them want to be real estate investors for the most part. So a lot of times you'll come across a business owner that says, "I don't care. I don't want to invest money into it. I don't want to. I don't care. This is just for my employees." And you have to kind of really nurture that conversation. So this one gentleman, he's in Illinois, which is one of the state mandates that we're going to talk about. And he's like, "I want to give something a little bit better than what the state's offering me." And or offering my employees. And he said, I just want to give them a match or whatever. So we create this plan. I said, okay, well, how much do you want to put in yourself? Because a lot of that, the plan design is backed into what the owner wants to do. And he said, I don't want to do anything. I don't like traditional investing. And at the end of the day, what we ended up finding out was that he has a $700,000 profit per year, profit after expenses of profit. And he's a commercial developer. So I called him yesterday. I said, hey, we're ready to start ramping up for January 1st, 2025. That was his deadline. That's when he wanted to do it. He's going to take about 200 grand a year out of that 700 to invest in a 7702 plan that he can reinvest and use it to lend off of to get his commercial real estate going. So understanding that profit is super, super important. I have literally a step-by-step process on how to get that every single time that we're going to talk about in, I don't know, week 2 next week. I think we'll talk about that. And then the case studies will also explain that. So glad you brought that up. Thanks, Phil.
Yep.
Okay, so let's break this down a little bit even further because this will set you up this is going to be a great way to show value against some of these 401k providers that are already out there. So ADP, Paychecks, Guideline, Betterment. These are all I call them robo or turnkey boilerplate 401k plans. Okay. When you break down the types of plans, everyone thinks a 401k is a 401k is a 401k, including CPAs, including financial advisors. That is far from the truth. The IRS code 401k is actually very, very an in-depth tax code. There's a lot of gray area, a lot of layers to it, and a lot of loopholes. It all comes down to the plan document that is being designed. And then you can partner with us. We actually create the plan document. Think of an attorney versus using LegalZoom, or think of a CPA versus H&R Block versus TurboTax. Okay, when you have a high income business owner, they're going to want to hire the attorney versus LegalZoom. They're not going to create their S corp or do all these different elections and things like that using LegalZoom for the most part. So prototype equals plug and play. It's called a mass filer is another word for it. It's plug and play. They file it one time with the IRS, and then they fill in the blanks every single time. It's a boilerplate plan design. Most plan documents, most 401k providers that are direct to consumer, like all those ones I mentioned, those are almost always going to be called a prototype plan document. If a solo entrepreneur who has no employees goes to Vanguard or Fidelity or Schwab and says, I'm going to open up a solo 401k, most often than not, it's a prototype, because if you go to Fidelity and they do that, they won't allow Roth. They won't allow after-tax contributions. They don't allow loans. They don't allow mega backdoor Roth conversions and all these different strategies. They won't allow it. It is pre-tax. That's it. Called a day. So you need to be able to focus on non-prototype plan. The high-end business owners are going to want a non-prototype, which is custom, custom, custom. We file it every single time for every single client, and you're able to manipulate the plan document in most ways to allow things. So for example, let's go back to that guy who is a non-traditional investor. He said, I don't want to invest in my 401k because I'm a real estate developer, right? I said, all right, well, let's remove you from eligibility from your own 401k plan. Okay, what that means is, by the way, you can do this for any executive, any leadership that makes over $155,000. Okay, I'm not going to get too far into that, but owners and people who make over 155,000 within a company, they're called highly compensated employees. The IRS could care less about them. They care about everybody else. So we can literally design the plan and isolate the executives, remove them from eligibility from the plan. And what that means is they won't get the match. So for this guy who pays himself, I think, $200,000 W-2 wages every year, he is removing himself from eligibility from his own plan. He's still allowed to do that $23,000 into the plan, but he's not going to match. He's like, I don't need $6,000 extra into my 401k to match myself. I'd rather put that towards real estate. So we removed him from eligibility, and now he's putting that $6,000 that's going to go towards that 7702 plan, okay, into the non-qualified plan. We'll talk more about that. So that's something you can do inside of a non-prototype plan document. You cannot do that inside of a prototype. Okay. All right. So we're different retirement plans. These down here are where we want to talk about it, but at the end of the day, we want to get into this one with these business owners. Okay. So payroll IRA, simple IRA, 401k plan, and then 401k plus profit sharing. These are all, I'd say, call it basic plan designs. There's a lot of nuance to it, just like I said, prototype versus non-prototype, but these are the basics. We want to talk about the advanced plan designs. Okay. Now, business owners, I'll kind of get into this here in a little bit later too, but they really care about only a few things: growing their business and tax savings. So you do need to talk about these things because their CPA is telling them to talk to you about it. Okay. We want to be on the same, excuse me, we want to be on the same side of the table as the CPA. So we don't want to go in there and say, hey, I have an idea other than your 401k, because they're going to look at their CPA and they look at them as in guidance, right? A lot of times they look at us as the unnecessary evil or the necessary evil sometimes, and we're just trying to sell them things. And the CPA is also watching out for their clients as well. But if you can sit on the same side of the table and tell your CPA, no, this is something I agree. Yes, this is something we need to do, and work around it with everything else. That's where it really starts having these good conversations. So being able to speak the same language as the CPA and as the business owner to make sure that we're taking care of the tax side of it, that's the really important thing. Okay. So let's talk about
And
this advanced. Yes, go for it.
before you jump into that, just because someone asked me before,
Uh-huh.
what's your feelings on SEPs compared to 401ks or things along those lines? Because
Yeah.
I noticed it wasn't on here, so could you touch on that too?
Yeah, because you know what, this chart here honestly is built for the group plans.
Sure.
When we're the SEP IRA, let's do this. When you
I
have
can
the
say
word
another question.
401k, no, this is a good point. The word 401k, when you have the word 401k at the end of a retirement plan, it means it needs administration. Okay. When it has IRA at the end, it does not need administration. Okay. So simple IRA, SEP IRA. A simple IRA is the exact same as the $23,000. It's the IRA version of the $23,000 you can put into it as an employee of your 401k. A SEP IRA is the most basic form of profit sharing.
Mm,
Okay. So if you do a SEP IRA in a group, there's a lot to that question, Phil, to be honest with you. Like, what's
yeah.
their salary? What does it make sense to do that? But if you have an employee and you're trying to offer a SEP and you want to give yourself a 25% contribution, which is the max up to
Mhm.
69,000, you have to give them 25%. Okay. So the 401k is where you can get creative. The IRA stuff is basic. It's very, very simple. So the SEP IRA is the profit sharing version of a 401k plan inside the 401k plan.
We'll see.
A lot of times people don't realize you can do simple IRAs. A lot of people, you don't need to have employees. You can just do that as a solo entrepreneur too. If and I'm going to go into this a little bit later about how to distinguish and help them figure out which one. And I actually have tools for everybody on this too. But if they say all I want to do is $15,000, sometimes the simple IRA is best because then they don't have to worry about some other things. So keep it simple, keep it very, very focused. The 401k is the entry point, or the simple IRA is the entry point to other things. Okay, that's just the beginning part. The only reason why a lot of people actually only offer the 401k is because it segues you into other conversations like executive benefits. Let's work with all the employees too. I have an enrollment meeting with a business after this, 6 franchises, 95 employees after this meeting today. And I'm going to sure as heck explain and bring up the book, um, what's it called? The Zero.
Power zero.
The Power Zero. Thank you for drawing a blank.
Yeah,
The Power Zero.
no
I'm going to
problem.
bring that book up to everybody and talk about the Power Zero to every single person in that room. So these are entry points to get us to talk about these advanced plan options. Okay. So don't diminish these during the conversation because there is a solution now for you to be able to offer these things. This is what we really want to get into, whether they're small or large, and we'll go over that in the case studies. So we have once we start talking about this advanced plan designs, This is how advanced plan design is designed. Okay. I have brochures I want to explain to you. I want to show you all this stuff that you guys can use. They're non-branded. But the 401k is by far is the most important for the way that's designed is the most important part of this entire advanced plan design. But we can get people up to 275,000 or more of contributions. Okay. So if we get into the conversation with the client, I want to go over this. I wish I had this on this next slide, to be honest with you, but there's questions we're going to ask to see where are we going to stop? Are we going to start here? Are we going to end up here? Are we going to end up here? And when we get into the advanced plan options, we can either offer qualified options or non-qualified options. Okay. So again, we're just getting into the beginning of these kinds of plans today, and we'll dive deeper into these in the future weeks. But qualified plans are simple IRAs, SEP IRAs, 401k, profit sharing, defined benefit plans, which is also known as a pension plan. Cash balance plan is kind of like a casual version of a defined benefit plan. But those are qualified plans. So the term qualified means fairness. The IRS wants you to give something to your employees, to the employees, right? So to dig into that a little bit more, the IRS code is built for the business owner. This is a good one-liner. The IRS code is built for the business owner, but in order to take advantage of it, you have to make sure you're taking care of your employees first. That's the whole definition of a qualified plan. Non-qualified plan is when you can isolate individual people, including the ownership, executive benefits. So BOLI, bank-owned life insurance, COLI's, corporate-owned life insurance, Section 162, executive bonus, cross-purchase, et cetera. LTIP is something that we're implementing as we speak right now on one business. They're trying to recruit some new executives and doing an LTIP, long-term incentive plan, where we're going to add a 10-year incentive funded by an IUL to be able to offer it to them in 10 years. We're going to put that on the owner as a surrogate instead of putting it on the employee. So these are things that we're going to talk about in the future weeks. But the whole point of this advanced plan option is, let's run the numbers. Let's see how much you're in the red or in the black when you're offering these qualified plans, and it just answers themselves. Okay. So for example, a dentist, we talked to a dentist. They're not the they're not the oldest person in the room. He's probably 38 years old, but he has 55-year-olds working for him. He's like, I want to max out my 401k and profit sharing. I want to do $69,000 per year. When we run the numbers, because we're the administrator, we get the census from them. We actually crunch the numbers. I'm going to show you this in one of the case studies. It showed that he was in the black. For him to do $69,000, he had to do 55 to everybody else. He was not in the black on that. So I said, okay, let's redesign this using a non-qualified plan. Give them the match, which is fair. You put in $100,000 per year because we're taking what the contributions for the profit sharing we were supposed to give to them, plus his spouse. We're going to do 100 or 150, and we're going to find other tax codes to find that instant gratification for the tax deductions. That's when you bring back the CPAs that you work with. Say, hey, what else can we do? Let's bring them into tax planning, not just tax preparation, tax planning, and they're going to love you for it. Okay. All right. Any questions on these types of plan designs? We're going to dig a little bit further into those, but good to go. Okay. All right. Okay. So I do want to take a step back and go with the state mandated retirement plans. I'm going to, Phil, did I email you this? I don't think I did.
Yeah,
This sheet here.
yeah, not yet.
Okay. So I'm going to have you distribute this. This is a list of all the states that require a retirement plan in the United States so far. And it is an ever growing list. This is going to be a normal conversation that you have with folks. So I have the link that you can go to every single state. Some of them have links, some of them are not. Some of them are up and coming. Oops. Some of them are up and coming. But do the research, know the state that you want to go after. because it's really good to have that conversation because we get people from Illinois, for example, who reach out to us all the time. And they say, my employees don't like the bag of IRAs that are being offered by the state. I want to give them something else. And then you start having that conversation. So these are great, great conversations for startup companies. Every state has a little bit different nuance to it, like how many employees you have, what is the offering, for example. California, it's a bunch of Roth IRAs with awful, awful, awful investments. They're being advised by financial advisors who don't want to touch 401ks with a 10-foot pole to go find something else. And they come to us, they come to you and say, let's find something better than the awful, awful investments inside of the California State Retirement Offering, Cal Savers. Okay. So study this, look at these, because if this is in your demographic, it's really important to take to really understand what is that offering.
It's a good question. If someone was
Yes.
put into a bad plan like Cal Savers, we have the ability now to really holistically look at it and rescue them per se from that standpoint and move them into what they really should be taking advantage of, correct?
Yeah. The business owner is not allowed to match at all. All it is payroll deduction. That's all it is. That's the only thing that they really care about is that there's a payroll deduction opportunity. It's an IRA. You could have done this anywhere. You could have
Yeah.
gone to Vanguard or you could have done anything you want and go straight to that and do the IRA. The whole point is that there's a reason why they're doing these mandates, right? There's an issue with people saving for retirement. It's a huge issue, and that's why they're offering these things. So we've been up now. There's some states that won't use this, but guess what? This payroll IRA, it's called a payroll deducted IRA. We've been offering this for 10 years. It is the exact same thing that the 401k that the states are mandating, except it doesn't check off that mandated box. It is a great way to offer something if they have no budget. Okay. And then it starts the conversation of now let's focus on you, business owner. We did what we needed to for for your employees. If it's a blue collar business, maybe they're not going to save anything into it. So let's focus on you as the business owner. So that is exactly what that is that state mandate. Oh, I lost my spot. There we go. So I'll email this to you, Phil, and you can distribute it to everybody. But this is the different states, and do the research. Do the research.
It's awesome.
Any other questions on that?
Oh, that's great.
Okay. All right. So far we talked about. Well, I will clarify exactly what states you can sell in, and then also the states that are requiring it. Those are two powerful things that we can cross-reference and start looking at what can I do in my market or my demographic. Okay. All right. Now let's start talking about setting the stage. And the whole thing is about becoming a valuable resource. So let's put all this together. And this is going to be a conversation about what's coming in the next couple weeks. Okay. All right. So Phil, what are you seeing? What screen do you see in front of you?
I still see the state mandated retirement plans.
Okay. This is bizarre. All right. I'm having a tech issue here. Okay. So when you talk, this is how you approach the business owner and how you become that valuable resource that we talked about. All right. This is part of the conversation I have with every single business. All right. So they care about two things. One is growing their business, and two is saving on taxes. Those are the two number one priorities that every single business owner cares about. And we have the opportunity to help them with both. Okay. Save on taxes and growing their business. And it's not always about the IRS code 401k and contributions in the 401k. It's we want to pair that tax code with other tax codes with their financial or with their CPA tax planning professionals. Okay. So these are the number one and number two things. We need to be able to have a solution for at least this one here, which ultimately will help them reinvest in their business.
I still see
Okay.
only state
So,
mandated in case you're sharing something.
huh. You're only seeing the state mandate.
Yeah. So if you have something different out.
You don't see the setting the stage tile right now, huh?
No, I thought you were
I'm
just
gonna stop sharing my
putting it in
screen
our
for a
head.
second.
Sure.
Let me try this one more time.
There, oh, there we
There it
go.
is. Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
winner.
Internet on the island, right? Okay.
Yep.
All right, so let me go back a little bit. So setting the stage, becoming a valuable resource. These are the two things that they care about: growing their business and saving money on taxes. So you want to become a solution to do this instead of being able to just walking in saying, I have an idea. Let's talk about specific ideas based on the industry. Okay. This is how I narrow down which one of these options, which I talked about before. Okay. I ask these exact same questions to every single person I speak to. All right. So number one is, what is your main objective? Why are you talking to me? Why are what is your objective of creating a plan? Okay. So this is assuming that you're going to talk to someone about a 401k. So maybe they already have a 401k, or you're going to introduce them to the 401k as a tool for them. Okay. So number one is what is the main objective? And it's really, honestly, this is multiple choice. Is is it that you want to stockpile into your own retirement or diversify? Is it to save taxes, or are you trying to recruit and retain high quality employees? And most of the time, the answer is yes to all of them, all of the above. Okay. Most of the time, it's all of the above. So your first question is, what is your main objective? And then the second question is, how much does the owner want to contribute? So how much do you, as the owner, want to contribute? So I went back to that one guy who says he doesn't like traditional investing. And he said, I want to open this up. My state is making me do this bag of IRAs in Illinois, and I want to do that. I want to do something better. I said, okay, great. Now I know what the objective was. It was to recruit and retain high quality employees. I said, how much do you want to contribute? He said, nothing. I said, you sure? What kind of profit do you have? 700 grand. All right. So what are you investing in? Real estate. Okay. That is the question. And that narrows down every single plan design available to them. So when we talk about that, we say, okay, we want to do the profit sharing. We want to create this upside down three-tiered wedding cake is what I call it. So we created the 401k for the business or for the employees. We're bypassing profit sharing because he's like, I don't care. I don't need that. I'm just going to offer what's fair. And we're going to jump straight to tier three. I literally call this a retirement plan stack. And when I talk to them on the phone, I say, imagine an upside down three-tiered wedding cake. The bottom layer is the 401k and the profit sharing. Then we get advanced stuff. So when you have these conversations, that has a visual to talk about, and they understand it and they get it and they follow it. So going back to these two questions, what is the main objective and how much they want to contribute? This is the flow that we're going to go through all these case studies with in week 3. Okay. I'm going to introduce these advanced plan options, but the flow is the same every single time. We do the consultation. We have that conversation with them about asking them, what is question number 1? What is question number 2? Then we get into the plan design phase. Okay. Let's build that plan around you. Let's implement the three-tiered wedding cake, upside down three-tiered wedding cake. And then 4 is the wrap up call. But during the implementation of all these plans that we go through, we're going to ask very, very pointed questions. We're going to say, do you have a business partner? And they say, yes. We'll pin that, talk about buy sell agreements later. Okay. Do you have any key employees that we want to make sure that we take care of? Because if they left the company, it's going to be detrimental. Yes. We pin that. We talk about it later. Okay. And we have a census. We have the date of birth. We have we have, well, technically we have their social security numbers too, but we have their names, there's their date of birth. We know exactly how much they make. And it allows us to have so much information to that. Okay. And during that wrap up call, we're saying, okay, the plan's up and running. We're getting going here. Now let's talk about some more risk management. Let's talk about taking care of the other employees. Let's make sure your business is taken care of. And you go from A to Z, talking about everything they need. 401k is the basis because It is what they're familiar with. They're familiar with what a 401k is with, well, most part. Most of them do, most of them don't, some of them don't. But like another meeting I had today, they didn't really know what it was. But um, in most 401ks, when a 401k is brought to me, 90% of the time they're not designed correctly. Okay, this is my last example, and I won't bug you. I won't take up too much more of your time on today. But business owner, he's an online entrepreneur. He has a team of maybe 10. Um, he's maxing out his 401k. He's maxing out his profit sharing. He's maxing out his defined contribution. He is doing a pre-tax contribution of over $300,000 per year into his retirement plan stack. All three layers of that. He's maxing out every single one of these layers here. Okay. What I did was we talked about the plan is incorrectly designed. One, okay, he's throwing way too much money to his employees, probably $15,000 too much because it was designed incorrectly. And then we did projections. We said your RMD is going to be $1 million per year when you turn 75 years old because you max funded all pre-tax contribution into your defined benefit plan, into your 401k, into your profit sharing plans. So what that does is saying we are putting way too much information or way too much into that pre-tax bucket. And then we start introducing the power of zero. Okay. If you have not read this book, you have to read this book. This is the amount of one-liners in this book is amazing to have conversations with the business owner. And if you haven't read it, read it. It's a weekend read. I think there's an audio book on it too. But that is a great way to start having these conversations. I'm going to discuss some of these strategies in future weeks, and go from there. So this is the process that we take every single time with every single client, and it unwraps everything from A to Z for every single business owner. And I'll show you that in the case studies in the future weeks. But to sum up what we talked about today, we have to find their pain point. We have to ask them that question number one: why are you here? Why are you talking to us? And then how much do you want to contribute? Gather the information through the consultation phase and the implementation phase. We have to find these solutions for them, not just using retirement plan options and contributions, but let's bring back in their tax planning CPAs, bring in their other partners that you might have, like attorneys. Doing projections opens up opportunities to see if they're going to have an estate tax issue, which I know is Phil's specialty, right? So it brings in a lot of conversations. I had a guy reach out to me. I want to do a mega backdoor Roth conversion in my solo 401k, $69,000 into Roth. I'm like, great. How much money do you make a year? $2.5 million. How much money are you worth? 40 million. You're a self-investor. You're going to be worth $1 billion when you're 85 years old and you don't have a state plan. You don't have a tax. He's filing incorrectly for his, I can go down a huge path here. He came to me to open up, and you know why he came to me and our company to do a solo 401k is because the only way to do a max funded after tax contribution solo 401k is because we offer a non-prototype 401k plan document. You cannot do that at Fidelity. You will get it wrong and you will fail IRS audits all day long. You have to do it this route or you can't do it at all. So we're opening up a lot of estate planning conversations. We're opening up a lot of wealth transfer situations using like IULs and other types of strategies, charitable remainder trusts, things like that. There's so many. He has nobody helping him. Nobody. Nobody. I've seen multi-billion dollar businesses have nobody helping them because what they're doing is they're looking down, building their business. They look up and they say, I have $1 million profit. And oh my gosh, my taxes are huge. And they have nobody. Most of their CPAs aren't doing it the right way. All right. So this is the homework before next week. Number one is think of a niche that you are connected to some degree. Okay. When I say a niche, like what industry am I talking about? Like, do you have an uncle in the architect industry, or is your spouse a doctor or whatever that medical field is or whatever that find that niche because that's where you start. Become an expert in that niche. Use ChatGPT and figure out the layout of the employee pool and what their pain points are and who they need to focus on. Okay, I did this with optometrists. I did this with farmers. And I have, and I'm going to send these to you as well, Phil. If I can figure out how to work my screens. There we go. I'm going to send these. I have about 8 of these industry specific, unbranded brochures
Hmm.
that will allow you to use the upside 3-tiered wedding cake and bring it in front of whatever professional you need. Um, this is just general high income. I have one that's general for medical, legal, and then we can dive deep into specific parts of the industries. The other one I have is medical, and then manufacturing is another one. It's all the same conversation. It's the same conversation. It's how do we, every layer is designed a certain way to maximize the layer above it. And that's it. And this tells the story, goes through everything I just showed you, and it starts the conversation. And you drop a brochure off in front of them and say, I'll give you a call next week and we can talk about this. It will open up a lot of doors. The other thing is somewhere on here. Here we go. Write down your business prospects inside of those niches. If you can read or listen to that Power Zero, because that's a lot of the conversations we're going to have in the next couple of weeks is there. I think it's $11 on Amazon or something like that. Um, and then also you need to get in the mindset of the um, business owner, tax code, what they need. This is a great podcast. Full disclosure, I've been a guest on that multiple times. He is a great tax planning CPA, and he talks about that. There are strategies that you mind-boggling that you'll listen to in that. And I am building out a lot of resources for everybody, including those brochures. And we'll talk about how you can actually search for 401k plans. They are a public record. I think that's on week 4. We're going to do that. You'll have access to a search engine that you can actually search for 401k plans. So these are things that we're going to talk about. This was kind of like an introduction week is the way I did it. And that's the code to Amazon, but you can search for it, the Power Zero. And that is all I have. I don't want to take up too much more of your guys' time.
What I will say is, to kind of sum it up, Matt, thank you so much. And for those who, popped in late, as I mentioned before, Matt and I connected through the eyes of collaboration. Once again, something that I find extremely valuable. Just because you might be waving the flag of a different organization doesn't mean that there's not opportunity for people to partner together and use what's called the MDRT split, $1 million roundtable, where based on the effort, the amount of work that you put into it, everybody wins together. A closed fist means nothing gets in, nothing gets out. But if you have open hands, now you have partnership and opportunity. People compete at the bottom, but they collaborate at the top, and we want to be that top level type of group to partner together. And even though Matt doesn't have his life business with us yet, there's opportunity from the other side of the coin again to help partner with this. And when we talk about like Hancock Principal, companies that have those 401ks, we can get appointed with them here. We can get it squared away and just talk about splitting business. And if Matt can uncover the opportunity for the 7702, aka LERP plans, opportunities like that, once again, equal share, equal opportunity. We're all in it together to win, and we all partner together to provide that value. I do the same thing with estate planning cases. You figure out what the cost is to do business together. And, my business partner always says part of something is better than all or nothing. That's why I like the opportunity is what we have here. We have one question here. What can we ask my friend who is a CPA and ask for referrals?
Okay, great question. The number one thing is, and I have another way to get more CPAs as well, in your back pocket too. But um, and I'd be happy to jump on a phone call with that CPA as well. There's a lot to the plan design, the nuance of it that we haven't really talked about yet. But simply the first step one is do they have someone that they offer to where are they sending their 401ks now? Because they are always saying it's time to start a 401k. It's time to start a 401k. And when a lot of time they send them to Guideline, they send them to Human Interest. Those are I call them robo 401k providers, and it would sometimes you can go down this path too, and sometimes I will. I say that's like me sending my clients to TurboTax. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. So, and the biggest thing is 401ks are not created equal. All 401ks are not created equal. Prototype versus non-prototype, that is a big one. Now, moving forward is when you do have a client, I always ask every single time during our intake stage. Um, Sometimes I'm going to need to talk to your CPA because we need to be on the same page. If you need some deductions, I'd rather you do some contributions instead of going buy trucks. A depreciating asset. Let's find some appreciating assets. Find some other strategies. And when you do that, they literally hand over their information to their CPA. Because of that, we have 65 CPAs that are sending us business. It is a great way to do it. And then we are teaching them things that they had no idea about.
Long story short is you have a resource or asset here in partnership to help everybody grow. Teamwork makes the dream work, and yeah, I think you have had several text messages and messages saying, great job, and nice hair too. I'm jealous, but I'm just kidding. But in any event,
Go for it.
I know, I know. So, guys, more to come. We got 3 more weeks of this. Great, valuable resources. How do you separate yourself from the herd? You offer options, value proposition, and ultimately, you're there to become a referral source. So we've had a lot of different resources with Valor. There's going to be some stuff coming out in January that'll be extremely valuable too. We're going to put all these pieces together, and just can't wait to share that stuff with you guys. So I'll kind of wrap for today. Matt, thank you so much for the time. Good luck with your onboarding in your next meeting, and we'll see
Yes,
you
sir.
same bad time, same bad channel next week. So see you guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody.